The UFC is headed to Saudi Arabia, and they are taking Israel Adesanya with them. This is Israel Adesanya's first non-title fight in 6 years. I don't know if that's because he's not the draw that he used to be, or because Saudi Arabia pays for these cards and they wanted a superstar. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC Saudi Arabia fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and bets. But before we look forward, let's take a half a second and look back. UFC 311 was last night, and it was a chaotic fight card. It started low and slow. We had a whole bunch of early wrestlers and boring fights. Then we hit the main card, and it was fireworks. The undercard didn't go without controversy, though. We had a couple of massive upsets. Peyton Talbot, minus 1,200. Can't defend a takedown to save his life. Rinya Nakamura, minus 1,600. A world-level wrestler decided he didn't want to wrestle. There was a lot of craziness that happened at UFC 311, and if you want my full recap immediately after the event, this is the thumbnail. Normally, that Home Alone face is cringy, but I promise you, there were some oh my moments at that event. And if you have already watched that video, you may say, Angelo, are you wearing the same Hayabusa hoodie that you were wearing in the video? Yes, I am. I stayed up till 2:30 in the morning filming that video. And now here we are, first thing Sunday morning filming this video. So sometimes you just throw on the same hoodie and it is what it is. But once you're done watching UFC 311, you can Google the PFC. Jacob and I will be at Peak Fighting Championships here in Frisco, Texas this weekend, January 25th. Peak Fighting is a regional show. They've put out some decent talent. They put on some great shows. They're going to be in our backyard in Frisco, Texas. So we're going to go. We're going to hang out. We got ourselves a couple of VIP passes. We sponsored a couple of the fight of the night bonuses to give money to these regional fighters because without regional MMA, there's no UFC. So if you're going to be at the event or if you're in this general area, come check it out. Tickets are like $20. It's at the Co-America Center in Frisco. Come hang out with the boys. Let's watch some next generation of fighters right here in North Texas. It's at PFC 42. We'll vlog the whole thing, so you'll get to experience it the same way that we do, similar to what I did at UFC Vegas 101. While you're at the event, you'll have internet. You can use that internet to download our app. We do have an app. The app has every single thing that we offer on the website. The 15 different tools, the 5 different analysts, the picks, the bets, everything we offer. And then on top of it, push notifications. So you never miss out on a last minute bet. You always know when the DraftKings optimizer is updated. You always have everything and every notification right there in your hand. Right now, it is on iOS only. There's always a couple of people, hey, is there an Android version? There is not. We had an Android version. It was buggy. There were issues. We pulled it. We're working on an Android version for now. The iOS version works flawlessly. Just search We Want Picks in the App Store. Once you have the app, you'll have access to everything, including the safety parlay. And before some of you negative Nancy crybabies are like, well, Angelo, the last safety parlay lost. Yeah, it did. That sucks. Listen, nobody cares more than me when that misses. You get to live in the comments section anonymously with some dumbass username. I have to sit here with tens of thousands of people waiting, just drooling, chomping at the bit, waiting to just be angry at you when Rinya Nakamura decides he forgot how to wrestle, even though he's a world-level wrestler. So yes, I went 10-3 on picks at UFC 311, but somehow safety parlay lost. But you got to look at it like a normal human being, not some weird internet hater. And if you look at it like a normal human being, you will see 10 of the last 12. I hit 10 of the last 12 safety parlays. Last night, we had a minus 1,200 lose. We had a minus 600 lose. We had a minus 400 lose. The dogs were barking. It was a chaotic event overall. And that's not a unique situation. That's why we love this sport, the chaos that is fist fighting in a cage. To have 10 of 12, one single bet, 10 of 12, call it safe, and have them hit, couldn't be prouder. Obviously, I would have liked to hit last night, but 54% ROI from one single bet. Safety parlay, short term in the last 3, spectacular. Long term in the last 2 years, spectacular. Full track record on the website. We track the lock of the week, safety parlay. You can check out every safety parlay ever made right then and there. You can also unlock the safety parlay. You can unlock the DraftKings ownership. You can unlock all the tools and the bets and everything else on the website, WeWantPicks.com. Just click Become a Member at the top. We did have the best DraftKings ownership projections on the planet last night at UFC 311. That's not a unique situation. We always do. Premium membership isn't just a handful of copy-paste bets. That's not what it is. We have bets, But the bets are what I'm doing with my money, what Jacob's doing with his, what Sam is doing with his. Then we have tools. Then we have insight. Then we have fantasy information. And it's just a complete package. DraftKings ownership, the slate sleuth for DraftKings, all of those were quite literally perfect. If you play DraftKings Fantasy and you had access to those tools, you did quite well. The data analyzer is another tool that we offer that is built out for the future. The way the website typically works is you have this week's event. Immediately following the event, it flips to the next event. The data analyzer is built out for the future. Every single data point for every single fighter that you could ever want. You can filter those data points. You can even watch the tape. Hover over a plot point, click the button, boom. There's the video. You can watch that person's fight while doing your own research. And it's not just beautiful Ange. It's not just handsome Hayabusa Ange. We have others as well. Of course, Jacob. We had Artem breaking down all the non-UFC fight cards. He just picked the perfect LFA card the other day. And now we have Sammy Baby. We've got New Zealand MMA on lock. Sam made money last night. Sam did well at UFC 311. You can check out every single thing that we offer. The artificial intelligence, the 5 different analysts, the 10 different tools, every single freaking thing for $10. It's $10. And the reason it's $10 is because of nights like last night. The chaos that is MMA. That is why it is $10. And it will stay $10 forever. It's been $10 for 2 years. It'll be $10 for the next 10. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. Finally, last slide before I break down these fights. And before you say, Jesus, this intro was 7 minutes. I spent 3 of them talking about the fights, okay? So settle down. Here is the address if you want to send something for mail day. Preferably not hate mail. Preferably nothing with powder in the envelope. But if you want to send something, we will open it on the vlogs. If you're a small business, send it. We'll read your letter. We'll shout it out. We'll do all the things. P.O. Box 406, Prosper, Texas, 75078. Let's go ahead and break down this fight card. UFC Saudi Arabia is a decent fight card. And that's what we get when the UFC heads to those parts of the world. That's because Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, they pay. They literally pay for the cards. When the UFC goes to Seattle, for example, that's on the UFC's dollar. And it's a business decision. Let's go to this market. We'll sell tickets for this much. And then we'll make our money back. It's a business decision. When they go to Abu Dhabi, when they go to Saudi Arabia, of course, it's also a business decision, but it's not the same model. It's not, let's fund our own event and then hopefully sell tickets. It's, here's $20 million from the government and we'll just do whatever the hell they want us to. Famously, last year, at the last UFC Saudi Arabia, they pushed it. I think it was supposed to happen in March. I probably have my dates wrong. And it was a trash main event. And the government said, I'm not paying for this bullshit. So the UFC had to move the card, change the main event, and redo the entire thing. And that's what happens when you take tons of money. The good news for us fans, you get good cards when they go to this part of the world. So I'm looking forward to this fight card. It is also right smack early in the day for me, which I tend to like because I get to watch it. It's a little chaotic because the kids have sports, but I can watch it and then I still get my night. I don't normally have a night. Saturday nights don't exist for me because I watch the fights, I do the recaps, then I wake up Sunday mornings and I do this. I don't get to take a deep breath and relax, good or bad, until after this video is up and done every Sunday. So let's go ahead and get through this breakdown so Big Ange can take a deep breath. We have Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady taking on Bolaji Oki. This is a short notice matchup. We don't even have odds for this just yet. And that's because Bolaji Oki has just stepped up. This is supposed to be Jordan Levitt. And Kareem Abdul-Selwady was going to be in my safety parlay. It was 100% guarantee. I had it written out, safety parlay. He was going to beat the absolute piss out of Jordan Levitt. Jordan Levitt sucks jiu-jitsu nerd. But this is a very different matchup. Because Al-Selwady, who is a forward pressure striker, he never sits still. He's constantly working. He's got fast twitch actions. He's got a good low stance. He'll duck his chin. He'll pump out feints. He likes to close the distance, fire overhands. He's got all of that movement. He's always doing something. He works takedowns in really well because you think you're striking with him and then boom, he shoots. And you're worried about his striking because it's dangerous and you're thinking about that and then boom, he shoots a takedown. He is coming off that UFC debut loss to Loik Radzhabov where he was winning that fight. The wild striking, the wrestling. But then he got a little too crazy and he was dropped and finished in the third round. But I recommend you go watch that fight because he was beating a very good Loik Radzhabov before he just started to feel himself, honestly. But now he's in a very different fight than he was preparing for. He's taking on Bolaji Oki. Bolaji Oki's good. He's a busy striker. He's got a good jab, lots of power. He likes to pump that jab out and set things up, and then he'll explode into combinations. He's got good takedown defense. He's got a really fast sprawl, solid takedowns offensively if he decides to use them, which is not very often. He does tend to slow down as fights go on, but he still remains dangerous. His biggest issue is defense. Someone with a busy jab, someone that moves forward can touch him up. He is coming off that unfortunate loss to Chris Duncan, where he was winning that fight. He had forward pressure, the strike, and then boom, guillotined. But he was winning that fight. Both of these gentlemen are coming off of losses, and both of these gentlemen were winning those fights before the tides turned very quickly. I mentioned I was unbelievably confident in Al-Selwady. I'm not nearly as confident. This is a much tougher matchup than Jordan Levitt was. I still think Al-Selwady can win this fight. I think the forward pressure can be backing Bolaji up. I think the forward pressure can set up the takedowns. I think the forward pressure will make it so Bolaji is not settled, because he needs to be settled to fire off those combinations. He doesn't fight nearly as well back as he does forward. So Kareem Abdul-Selwady is going to be the pick. But if you check, the public pick right now is Oki. I saw 78% of people, and I don't know if that was thousands or hundreds, but 78% of people have picked Bolaji Oki to win this fight. I am on the other side. Hopefully, for my sake, that is also an indication of the odds. A couple weeks ago, I sat here saying Aylin Perez should not be this big of an underdog. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. And we bet on her and we made a couple of bucks. Hopefully, this is a similar situation. Hopefully, I see these odds and Abdul-Kareem Al-Selwady is a plus 200 dog, and it doesn't make sense to me. And we cash. Then we have Hamdy Abdelwahab taking on Jamal. Did I? Abdelwahab. Was that good? Hamdallah. Hamdy Abdelwahab. Abdelwahab. This is how I would normally say it. Hamdy Abdelwahab. That's how I would normally do it. But I'm trying. Hamdy Abdelwahab. I don't know if I'm getting it. He's good, though. He's good adjacent. Because he is an Olympic wrestler. He's not a nobody. He's an Olympic wrestler. He's also coming back after a 2-year USADA suspension and a short notice UFC debut. I mentioned Olympic wrestler. He wrestled for the Iranian Olympic team, but he's actually based out of New York. He lives in New York, trains in New York. He's with that Renzo Gracie fight team. He is comfortable striking, but it's slow. It's telegraphed. He does have some legit power in his hands. They're just bombing overhand. He used that to set up those Olympic takedowns. He has gotten a little too used to striking. You saw that in his last fight, which was 2 years ago because of the USADA issue, where he was clearly the better wrestler, but for some reason decided to gunsling, decided to strike. He's taking on a Jamal Pogues. Wild hair on Jamal Pogues in this picture, of course. He's a busy heavyweight. He always seems to be throwing something. He's got good volume, decent pace, but he doesn't have that big heavyweight power. He can grapple as well. In his first Contender Series fight, he had 7 offensive takedowns. On the regional scene, he was also wrestling. He's not very dangerous because, again, he doesn't have that big one-punch heavyweight power, but he does set a nice pace, and he works everywhere. He's coming off that win over Thomas Petersen, where the cardio was not great at all. And he didn't show much off his back. But the volume, the forward pressure, got it done. Hamdy, to his credit, is the first Egyptian fighter ever in the UFC. He's also an Olympic athlete. And I'm going to dog him a little bit here, but the reality is Hamdy can do well. The last Olympic heavyweight wrestler we had was freaking Daniel Cormier. And that's a wild comparison to make because Hamdy is not Daniel Cormier. He doesn't wrestle nearly as much as he should. He doesn't strike as much as he should. And when he does strike, he just bombs overhands. His UFC debut was on short notice. That is probably why he popped hot, why he pissed hot for USADA. Because he was just juicing on the sidelines, had no idea he was going to go to the UFC. They called him, and he just accepted it and said, yeah, let's do it and hope for the best. And obviously, didn't work out for him. It's also a little interesting. I don't know if he runs his own Instagram, but after that UFC debut, after being suspended by USADA, they're posting all over his Instagram, UFC champion. And maybe it's a translation thing, and it was a foreign sponsor, and they just meant UFC fighter. I don't know, but that's a little out of touch. But the reality is, I think Hamdy wins this fight. He's squarely the underdog here. Hopefully this line continues to move because I think Hamdy can win. I mean, he's an Olympic wrestler. Let's just hope he wrestles. It's not a guarantee. Go watch that Rinya Nakamura fight. Bum. Absolute clown shoe. Ridiculous nonsense. But I do think Hamdy can win this fight. I'm just going to watch this line before he's a hard guy to put your money on. But I'm going to watch this line. We'll see what happens. The reality is an Olympic wrestler fighting a guy that can be taken down should win. Sometimes you just got to go 1 + 1 = 2 and hope these people don't make dumb decisions. Then we got Bogdan Grad taking on Lucas Alexander. Bogdan Grad's a pretty well-rounded guy. His striking is pretty straightforward. He sticks to jabs. He has nice setups, and he doesn't chase knockouts. He's got heavy kicks. He likes to invest in those legs early to slow you down to keep the pace where he wants it. He'll work in wrestling as well. He'll attempt multiple takedowns, and then when he gets a takedown, he'll focus more on control than a submission. Well-rounded guy, and he will make adjustments during the fight. He's taking on Lucas Alexander. Lucas Alexander's a fun guy to watch. He's a powerful striker, and he does like to showcase. He uses kicks really well. He'll manage range. He'll explode in the pocket. He has okay grappling, but it's mostly defensive. He does use defensive wrestling, though, to end up on top, right? He'll stuff the takedown. He'll stay heavy on that head. He'll take your back. He's got big power, diverse striking, solid training partners, and when he has cardio, which is not all the time, he is a real threat. He's coming off that KO loss to Jekasar guy about a year ago. And if you look at Bogdan's record, on the surface, this guy's a killer. He's got 11 stoppages and 14 wins. But he is a controlled guy. He doesn't go looking for finishes. He goes out there, he fights, and he just happens to find them. That record is inflated. There's some regional nonsense on there. And I don't expect those same finishes at this level in the UFC, but I do think he can win this fight. Lucas is the more dangerous of the two, but he's also chaotic. He gets crazy. And Bogdan does a good job slowing the pace and getting it to where he wants it. So if Lucas starts to go crazy and Bogdan chops those legs, slows him down, Bogdan can take over. We still don't have odds yet for this fight. We'll see what happens when they drop. I do think Bogdan wins. Low confidence, obviously. I'm not going to sit here and be like, Bogdan, blah. And we also have no idea what the odds are. If he is an underdog, we'll take a much closer look. Maybe there's a prop to be had, but I think Bogdan Grad can pull this one off. Then we got my girl, Jasmine Javicius, taking on Mayra Bueno Silva. Jazzy is somebody we've picked quite a bit in the past. We've had a lot of success picking Jasmine. A lot. And to both her and Mayra Bueno Silva's credit, this is the first UFC female fight ever in Saudi Arabia. Not the first female fight. That happened in the PFL. But the first UFC female fight. And this is who they chose. And it could be an entertaining fight because Jasmine's a bad bitch. She doesn't care. She comes forward. She'll slug it out. She'll shoot some takedowns. She is a wrestler. She's wrestled in real life. Not an MMA wrestler. Not somebody who's like, hey, I want to fight. And then learned how to wrestle. Wrestled her whole life. Then said, let's turn this into fist fighting. And she's got the personality for it because she is not afraid to sling leather. She is not afraid to come forward. She's not afraid to get hit. She's not afraid to do the hitting. She's not afraid to shoot takedowns and get in your grill. She is absolutely a dog. She will move forward. Striking's not spectacular, but it's in your face. She's got forward pressure, and as I mentioned, she's got very good takedowns. Once she gets takedowns, the control is phenomenal. She's probably got some of the best control at this weight class in this division. She is coming off that dominant win over Ariana Lipski, where she had the takedown, she had the control, and she blew the over 2.5 for us. Thank God the over 2.5 wasn't in the safety parlay. She blew it by 2 seconds. She finished Ariana Lipski with 2 seconds to go for that bet to hit. We love Jasmine here, but this is a tough fight, and I think these odds are wide because she's taking on Mayra Bueno Silva, a good striker with solid power and good kicks. Mayra Bueno Silva likes to come forward and sling. She's a very good grappler as well, but she doesn't have the wrestling. She's got the jiu-jitsu, not the wrestling. She's one of the more dangerous people in the division, especially on the ground. She is coming off that loss to Macy Chasson, where she was having success, and then ultimately a cut is what the issue was. So don't just look at the record. I know sometimes it's easy to just look at red dots and green dots on Tapology, and but she's in the last 5. Yes, she's 2-2-1 in her last 5, but her last fight, she was doing well, got that cut, and ultimately that's why they had to stop it. I love Jasmine. As I mentioned, she's been in multiple safety parlays, and I have ridden her to the promised land. But this is a much tougher fight. Mayra Bueno Silva is no joke. She is on that 2-fight skid, but there's a title fight loss to Raquel Pennington where she had 3 takedowns, and her last loss, she was doing really well in that fight and got a cut. So you just kind of have to keep those losses with a grain of salt because Jasmine may have lost those same fights the same way. Not the cut. But Mayra Bueno Silva is not going to be that girl. I don't think she's going to be the one to defend the takedowns, make this ugly, and beat Jasmine. Jasmine lost to Natalia Silva because Natalia Silva has some incredible footwork, and she's crazy fast, and she will pop shots, stay out, defend the takedown, turn, boom, moving like crazy. That's not Mayra. Mayra's far more stationary and firm, and that's where Jasmine can get to the hips, get the takedowns. Jazzy's going to be the pick. The over 2.5 is also going to be a pick when that drops. We'll see what those odds are. I haven't placed a bet on Jasmine just yet because it does scare me how good Mayra is. But sometimes you just got to look at it. Same way we did with Aylin Perez and say, in these lighter women divisions, if you can get takedowns, you can win a good amount of fights. And that's really what we're having here. So expect some action on Jasmine. If you have the app, make sure notifications are on because the very second we place bets, you will get a push notification to your app. And if you like the bet, great, jump on. If you don't, then you avoid it. Who cares, right? Don't place a bet you don't like. But at least you got the notification, you got to see the odds before they move. Then we got Ziam taking on Mike Davis. This is another interesting fight because Mike Davis sort of in and out, tons of injuries. Very inactive, but he's also very, very good. He is taking on Ziam, a long, rangy striker. He works well in the clinch. He manages range. He's got solid leg kicks. He'll decide when to close the distance, when to clinch. He's got good elbows. He's a technical fighter. He likes to avoid risk. You're not really going to see him in a lot of firefights. He picks his shots well. He only engages when he sees opportunities. He does take his time. He looks to point his way to a victory. And if the only fight of his you have ever seen is his last fight, everything I just said doesn't make sense because he finally got a finish. His first UFC finish. And that really was because Matt Frivola, his opponent, was just coming in chaotically, swinging for the fences, going nuts, and Frost was able to connect. This is a very different fight, though, because on the other side of the cage will be Mike Davis. Mike Davis is a fast, athletic striker with very real power, and he transitions to his wrestling incredibly well. His kicks are great. He'll double tap the body and then kick the head before he even puts that foot back on the ground. Incredibly well-rounded. He has showcased that in his last 4 fights where they combined 14 takedowns. He is coming off that finish win over Natan Levy, where we saw the power in his hands. Mike Davis is a very real prospect. He does have a history of bad luck, though. He's incredibly talented, spectacular resume. The only 2 losses are to Sadiq Yusuf on the Contender Series and then Gilbert Burns in a really tough UFC debut. Since then, we've seen displays of power. We've seen technique. We've seen wrestling. We've seen striking. He does just keep getting injured, though, and that's caused really long layoffs between fights. So he has looked great in his return. But I don't know if he's ever going to reach his full potential. He's 32 years old. He takes years off between fights because of random injuries. So his window of being in prime peak. This is why they say I have a lisp. Peak athletic abilities. That window's closing. He's 32. By the time he's 35, that's gone. It's just straight downhill. I still think Mike Davis gets it done. I think he hits harder. I think he's the better wrestler. I think he's faster, he's more athletic, he's all those things. Ziam is going to be, in my opinion, the more technical striker. So if I'm Firas, I'm his coaches, it is footwork. That jab needs to be out there every second of that fight. So if Mike Davis looks to shoot, boom, there's a jab. Boom, there's an uppercut. Step off, circle those hips, keep those feet moving. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that, though. Mike Davis is very, very, very good. Now, speaking of very good and somebody you can't trust, Terrance McKinney. Terrance McKinney, incredibly talented. Great hands, solid wrestling, good BJJ, power, literally all the tools. If you were building a lightweight fighter, Terrance McKinney might be the person you build. The problem is, if we're picturing a video game and you're dragging, you have like 100 points to use. Oh, I'm going to do 50 to striking. The problem is you use them all on the wrestling. Then you use it on the powerful striking. You use it on the speed. You ran out of juice when you had to build the guy's chin. That's the problem. The chin and the cardio do not exist. But Terrance McKinney has great offensive wrestling. He's got great power in his hands, incredible speed. He just only has those things for a total of 4 minutes, and he's got no chin whatsoever. Terrance McKinney, skill-wise, if we eliminate the cardio and we eliminate the chin, skill-wise, Terrance McKinney could be undefeated. Literally could be undefeated. Even those 7 losses, he was winning pretty much all of them before the tides turned. He should win this one too, but he is fighting, while he's old, Damir Hadzovic. Damir's just okay, right? An okay striker. He likes to march forward, throwing short punches. Those are designed to get you against the cage so that he can take you down. If he gets you down, He's a hammer. He stays busy on top. His losses, all 7 of them, are to pretty decent guys. He lost to Renato Moicano. He lost to Christos Gallegos. But the wins aren't as good as the losses, surprisingly, right? You lose to Renato Moicano, it's like, I lost to... Who doesn't lose to Renato? Islam. But the wins aren't quite the same. He literally does not have a single win over an active UFC fighter. Not one. He is coming off that decision loss to Mark DeCasey, where he was taken down 8 times and only landed 5 strikes. Damir's old. Damir isn't nearly as fast. He doesn't hit as hard. He's not as good of a wrestler. He's coming off a ridiculous almost 3-year layoff. So he loses this fight, right? Is it that simple? Terrance McKinney is one of the most unreliable people we have ever seen. He's incredibly chinny. The odds are starting to correct themselves. He was minus 455 just a few weeks ago. He's down to minus 335. If we can get him down a little more, then maybe he makes sense because he absolutely should win this fight. But we're coming off the heels of UFC 311, and there was a bunch of people that should have won those fights and didn't. Terrance McKinney is going to be the pick. If these odds starting to tighten up a little bit, and we get some better value here, and there's a 2 in front of it instead of a 3, then we'll look at it. For now, I'm just going to wait and see what happens. And you know what's going to happen? It's going to go the other way. He's going to be a minus 500. And he'll probably win. But you got to look at the history. All we can do is work with the information we have. I'm going back to Rinya Nakamura, and I'm going to call him a clown-ass bitch again. All we can do while picking fights and betting on fights is use the information available to us. That's all we can do. And the information available to us on Rinya Nakamura was world-level wrestler who takes everybody down, has power in his hands. Who the hell thought he wasn't going to shoot a single takedown? He was fighting a guy that got taken down 3 times by Kyung Ho Kang. Why would anybody who had done any research whatsoever assume that Rinya wouldn't wrestle? So we can only work with the information we have. The other side of that spectrum is Terrance McKinney. We can only work with the information we have. And the information we have is very talented, no chin, no cardio. That's what makes betting on him so scary. But he is good. I want Terrance McKinney to be good. I know this sounds like I'm dogging him. He can't help his chin. I mean, that literally, he cannot help it. Like, you're just born with a chin or you're not. Like, it's not, you can't work your chin out. Like, you can't. Oh, you do neck exercises. I'm telling you, you can't help your chin. The cardio, you have a little more control over. In his defense, he gasses because he goes so hard, so fast, almost finishing people. Long rant to say Terrance McKinney wins this fight, but he scares me. Whoa, you know what else scares me? This troll under the bridge, Shamil Gaziev. Damn. God giveth and God taketh. There was a lot of taking on that side. And I know I'm not running around here looking like Leonardo DiCaprio in 1996, but like, stand me next to Shamil Gaziev. Okay. I'm Denzel Washington. We got Shamil Gaziev. Large Dagestani. Large Dagestani. But he isn't a nonstop wrestler. The beard indicates otherwise, right? You see the no mustache, all that beard, and you're like, hey, there's a wrestler. I know a wrestler when I see a wrestler. But that ain't it. He's actually a pretty good striker. He moves forward. He lands big. Physically, just an absolute bag of marshmallows. But he will work in a couple of spinning attacks. He's a little more athletic than you would expect. Real power in his hands, relaxed striking style. He has wrestling as well. The cardio has been inconsistent. We've seen it good. We've seen it awful. He's coming off that odd decision win over Dontel Mays where he had clean striking and he did work in a pair of takedowns. He's taking on Thomas Petersen with all ease. It hurts my eyes to see Petersen, Petersen. Petersen. Can't do it. Anyway, Thomas Petersen is a decent wrestler, right? He'll come forward. He'll work everything from bear hugs to double legs. Striking's not great, but he will close that distance. He'll throw some straight punches. He'll march forward. And then when he gets you against the cage, he's going to be busy in that clinch. If Petersen cannot take you down, he can be in a little bit of trouble. But if he can take you down, the control, the ground and pound, the busyness on top is very, very good. He is coming off that decision win over Muhammad Usman where he was sloppy, he was slow, but he was effective. Is Shamil the guy that they told us he was going to be? No, he's not. He's not, right? We saw big-time holes in his game. But he's definitely good enough to beat Thomas Petersen. He should win this fight. When Shamil was coming off one win and they threw him in a UFC main event and said, this is the next guy, we were all like, damn, Shamil's that guy. 12-0. And then just, it was bad. It looked bad. But he seemed to fix the cardio. He just went a full 15 minutes in his last fight. Was it a 15-minute Marab? 15 minutes? No. But he went 15 minutes. He didn't death gas. That's all we really need from Shamil. Because the striking is there. And then the offensive wrestling will be there. And as long as he doesn't death gas, which I don't suspect he will, he wins this fight. The odds are moving. He was minus 310 a couple weeks ago. He's now minus 400. Honestly, it makes sense. Odds are interesting because you guys are all chasing plus money. And I get it. You want plus money. Well, who wouldn't want plus money in their bets? But if we look at odds, here's a little lesson for you. Minus 400, what do you think that means? Minus 400 means he wins 80% of the time. And that seems fair to me. If these guys fought 100 times, I think Shamil Gaziev would win 80 of those times. So while minus 400, when everybody's desperate for plus money and long shot parlays, seems insane, when you convert it to implied probability, it's not so crazy. You know what minus 1,500 is? That's what Islam was going into the Renato Moicano fight. Minus 1,500 is a 94% probability to win. Islam was a 99.9% probability to win in real life. So that's why we got to look at odds a little differently sometimes. And while this is juiced, 80% probability to win seems fair to me. You know what else seems fair? The insane work that we have put into this damn data analyzer. In all seriousness, no, the data analyzer is a point of pride. This is the tool that we built from scratch. This was coded from scratch. It's a complex tool that houses data. So we have all the data for every fighter you can think of for every upcoming event. And then on top of that data is a reporting engine that can pull any plot you want, any data point you want, and filter it out. The example in these screenshots is Islam Makhachev's significant strikes landed in decision wins. And on average, it's 1.95 per minute. And then if you look at the chart, you'll see little red plot points. If you hover on a desktop, it'll pop up with who the judges were, how they scored the fight, all the information. If you click, then the video from that fight will pop up and you can do your tape study. If you're on mobile, works the same way. You tap once for the pop-up, you tap twice for the video. The data analyzer is an incredibly powerful tool that can help you find your own spots. I know the vast majority of people just want to copy-paste bets. Hey, guys, just tell me who wins, and then if I win and you win, great, and if you lose, I'm going to blame you, and that's how this world works. I get it. I'm doing this long enough to understand how that works. The reality is, though, some people want to do their own research. Some people were like, I'm not going to pay for picks and bets. So don't. Pay for the tools. If you're going to do your own research and find your own spots, why wouldn't you use the most powerful tool in this space? And that's not an exaggeration. Show me another tool that is more powerful than this. It has every single data point you can want. It is a full tape index so you can watch the fights and do your own research with your own eyes. And it also has filters. You can filter the data any way you want to tell the story you want to tell. When you're looking at prop bets for takedowns and strikes and fight minutes, this gives you that. And it's not just the next event. It's every single event officially listed and announced. Check out the data analyzer now. It's $10 for Christ's sake. And it's not just the data analyzer that's $10. Everything's $10. All the picks, all the bets, all the tools. The DraftKings optimizer. Every single thing we do. It's one package for $10. We added BetSam and I said, hey, send me a picture. This is what he sent. Come on. What are you doing? I'm pretty sure he has a heart condition too. Sorry if I'm... No, you said it on a call-in show. That's no HIPAA violation. He doesn't live in America. Anyway, BetSam has been added to the team. Artem has been picking at insane accuracy for the last couple of years, and so has BetSam. If you go to any of those tracking sites and you look at any of the... Here's how people picked last night. First of all, I went 10-3 at UFC 311, even though everybody's pretending the world burned to the ground. You'll see my name up there, Jacob's name up there, Artem, and BetSam. All in the top 10 of people picking events week in and week out. BetSam has been added to the team. BetSam did quite well at UFC 311. Check his stuff out. If you don't know his style yet, you're not comfortable with it, it's okay. Just check it out. See what he has to offer. If you like it, great. You don't, then you don't. The artificial intelligence as well. That's 5 different people picking fights for you, providing bets and insight for you. And then the tools and everything else. Freaking $10. WeWantPicks.com. Click become a member. You're going to get an entire month's worth of access. That's UFC Saudi Arabia, UFC 312, whatever the hell's after that. WeWantPicks.com. And if you want 50, we'll send you 50. I know a couple of people are hurting. I know. Lots of craziness happened at UFC 311 with parlays getting ripped to smithereens because of the main event drop, because SD Dumas left. And then Johnny Walker leaves. There goes that parlay. And then Peyton Talbot sells. And then Rinya Nakamura forgets he knows how to wrestle. So I get a lot of people hurting. You want 50, we'll send you 50. WeWantPicks.com/bets. Use the affiliate link. The only reason we can send $50 is because they pay us. You got to use the link. You sign up, make a deposit. They're going to pay us. I'll slice off $50, give it right back to you, and we're all doing well together. That's the goal here, guys. That's the goal. And if you want to send something for the vlogs, here's the address. P.O. Box 406, Prosper, Texas, 75078. Your small business, you want to write a letter, all the things. P.O. Box 406. Now let's go ahead and break down this main card. I mentioned this is a good fight card. This fight should be good. It doesn't really matter that much for the division, but this should be an entertaining fight card. And anytime you get a card on this side of the world, you're going to get a certain type of fighter on that side of the world. We're going to get the Muhammad Naimovs, the Ikram Aliskerovs, the Said Nurmagomedovs. And they're all going to be put in positions to win. And that's kind of what we have here. We have Muhammad Naimov, well-rounded guy. He does prefer to strike, but he can wrestle if he needs to. He's fast. He's athletic. Old school martial arts striking. He likes to plot forward. He wants to throw in combinations. If he closes the distance, I don't know what that was. I'm sorry, guys. If he closes the distance, he'll clinch up. He'll strike from there. He will actively defend takedowns early in a fight and then completely transition. Like, I'm done doing this, and then start to wrestle. He's coming off that submission loss to Felipe Lima, where he was a little bit chinny, but he did have some success early. He's taking on Kaan Ofli, a BJJ black belt with just okay takedowns and just okay striking. He's busy on the ground. He's always looking for something. Not the longest guy in the world, so he does rely on strength to control positions, and he'll try to work in some sweeps. He has offensive takedowns, but he can be taken down. If you stick to a wrestling game plan against him, you will get him to the ground. Short, compact guy that can be hard to move around. He's coming off that KO loss to Marlon Santos, where he moved forward looking to grapple, but then he was cracked. Naimov should win here. Right, he can wrestle. He's got heavy hands. The odds are tough. The odds are tough. Because Muhammad Naimov is also a guy that can be finished, as we saw. And there's always something up with the Muhammad Naimov fight. They're never clean. He was losing against Jamie Malarkey before he caught him. He had foul after foul, nut shots, eye pokes, all the things against Nathaniel Wood. His win over Eric Silva was a fluke injury on the Eric Silva side. And his last fight, he was getting dropped like crazy, then gassed, then submitted. So yeah, he should win here because Kaan Ofli is a pretty one-dimensional guy. But damn it, dude. Damn it. It's hard looking at these odds. Thinking about betting on a guy that doesn't have a single clean win in the UFC. But Muhammad Naimov should win. And that's all we can do. Pick the people who should win their fights. And a guy that absolutely, you know what's so crazy? Here you go. Here. If you're listening on Spotify or whatever podcast, I'm sorry. If you're watching, all right, let's look at Muhammad Naimov's face. Now we're going to go to the next slide. Boom. Doesn't Ikram look like he's just so, he looks like I built this in MS Paint and just stretched it out to the side instead of doing it proportionally. Why does it look like that? Boom. Skinny, like, bang, stretched out. Either way, we got Ikram Aliskerov, a Russian wrestler. His hands have looked pretty good, so he hasn't really needed to wrestle in the UFC. When he is wrestling, nonstop pressure, constant body locks, tie-ups, and shots. When he gets you to the ground, he's like an eighth layer of skin, and he's impossible to shake off. Striking is improving. He's got a good high guard, solid combinations, good power. He is coming off that first-round knockout loss to Robert Whittaker, where he went from the Apex to Saudi Arabia on 1 week's notice. He went from a regular fight to a main event against a perennial top 5 guy on the planet. Let's cut him a little bit of slack coming off that. I'm positive. Listen, I've been doing this long enough to know what the comments are. Ikram Chinny sucks. Fraud check. Ikram was just fraud check. Dude, taking a fight on 1 week's notice against one of the best middleweights ever. Is he the best ever? No. Is he in the conversation? Or if you're doing rankings in the top 5? Yeah, he can be. And Ikram stepped up. Flew to the other side of planet Earth. And yeah, he got sparked. That's not a fraud check. That's a guy losing to somebody with a lot of circumstances around it and losing to somebody who's phenomenal. So that's why I have an issue with the term fraudulent. People just throw it around. A lot of short-term memories in this space. We got to zoom out. We can't only look at Ikram's last fight. We got to look at his broader body of work. And that is why he's a minus 600 favorite here. His broader body of work. He is fighting Andre Muniz. Andre's a BJJ killer. Striking's okay. The wrestling's okay. He hits pretty hard for somebody that primarily is a grappler. And the striking is technical. He's not going to shy away from striking. He doesn't really get desperate with the takedowns, or at least not too often. He'll take some real wrestling shots as well. So he's not scooting on his butt, hoping to pull a guard. He does avoid that butt scoot. I think we call him a BJJ nerd, but we don't. Because on one hand, he will roll around once it gets to the ground. If he's on his back, he's doing nothing to get up. So that's a little BJJ nerdy, right? Go walk to Dax Reese breakdown that I did for UFC 311. But on the other hand, he's not pulling guard. So he's right somewhere in the middle. When he's on the ground, on his back, he'll play that game. And then he gets smacked in the face. When he's on the feet, though, he'll shoot real takedowns and not pull guard. He is coming off that bounce-back win over the Iron Turtle, where he had 11 takedowns. But he still somehow managed to get his face hit twice as much as he hit his opponent's face. Ikram's a 6-1 favorite now. He was a 3-1 favorite just a few weeks ago. And when I broke this down a few weeks ago, I said this should be a 5-1 fight. And now here we are at 6-1. Yeah, I mentioned he was KO'd in under 2 minutes against Robert Whittaker, but just factor in all the circumstances I ran you through just a minute ago. The reality is, Ikram Al-Skirov lost to one of the best middleweights on the planet, and Andre Muniz is nowhere near that level. He's a BJJ guy who's going to struggle on his feet. He's going to struggle off his back. Ikram should be able to dominate this fight literally everywhere, and that should not be a surprise to anybody because the odds are what they are, and that line moved somewhat quickly. Then we do have an interesting fight. We're a line that is tightening. We have Said Nurmagomedov, who just a few days ago was a minus 300 favorite, is now a minus 170 favorite against Vinicius Lockdog Oliveira. Said Nurmagomedov is a flashy striker. He's not the Nurmagomedov that you would have assumed he would be, with the mustache, with the beard, with the last name. He's really long and he uses that length well. He keeps range. He stays dangerous both in and out of the pocket. He can throw kicks to your head while being just 2 feet away from your body. His striking is versatile. His takedown defense is solid at 65%. The length doesn't just benefit him on the feet, though. On the ground, he can wrap you up. More often than not, it will be your neck. He has an insane guillotine. Literally one of the best guillotines we've ever seen in MMA. He has 3 guillotine wins in his last 5 fights, including the one against Muin Gafurov. He's taking on Vinicius Oliveira. Vinicius Oliveira is a fun guy who charges forward and he throws everything at the wall looking for a finish. He is sloppy, but he is dangerous. He's not just chaotic on the feet, he's chaotic on the ground. He will get to the ground. He'll just start Donkey Kong style, raining down hammer fists. He's winning fights with aggression, with power, with creativity. And he is coming off that decision win over Ricky Simone, where he doubled the strikes, he defended the takedowns, and he made Ricky work way too hard. And Said Nurmagomedov has somehow built an entire career off of one move. He's as close as you're going to get to building a career off of one single move. 3 guillotine wins in his last 5 fights. That is honestly insane. Other than the Ronda Rousey armbar era, I can't think of a single person who is that good at one actual move that executes it. I know in Dustin Poirier's head, he has that good of a guillotine, but he's never won by guillotine. Said Nurmagomedov, 3 guillotines in his last 5 fights is crazy. If Vinicius was a little more cautious and didn't just come in all reckless, I'd be all over him. And I would have been all over him when he was plus 225 just a few weeks ago. But he is a little reckless. And that reckless abandon, the forward pressure, the wild swinging, could end up in a situation where he slips, he trips. Said creates a scramble, snatches his neck. I am still going to pick Vinicius to win this fight. I think Vinicius does win this fight. Because we've seen Said losing before pulling off the guillotine. It's not like he's just this world beater dominating people like Islam, right? Islam has 2 Darces in a row. But he has 2 Darces in a row because he's just controlling positions, doing what he wants to do. Then he sets up the Darce. Said doesn't fully set up the guillotine. it is given to him because he's being taken down against the cage, or he was taken down over and over and over. Then he slides it in and then he gets it. It's not his plan A. It just presents itself because he's getting taken down and pushed to the cage because he's a good striker. I think Vinicius Oliveira can win this fight. I am picking Vinicius Oliveira to win this fight. We'll wait for some props to see what I'll do betting-wise. Obviously, those plus 225 odds are gone, long gone, and he's down to plus 145. And Said Nurmagomedov is very good. I'm not trying to make him out to be a one-trick pony, but the craziness and the pressure of Vinicius can either hurt him or help him here. Then we have a heavyweight striker delight, or what should be. Sometimes we get heavyweight staring contests, but I imagine this will be a pretty entertaining fight. We got Sergey Pavlovich taking on Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Sergey Pavlovich, beast of a striker. Mostly a boxer. You're not going to see a ton of kicks. He got surprisingly little, tiny, skinny legs for a guy that big. But he's got insane hand speed, insane power. He moves forward. He will touch you, and he will crack you long before you know what's going on. The speed on this guy is absolutely incredible for somebody at his size and his weight. His chin is not incredible, though. It's a decent chin, but Tom Aspinall checked it. People have gotten to it before. He has 0 takedowns in the UFC. He has only been taken down one single time so far. And he is coming off that decision loss to Alexander Volkov, because Alexander Volkov had a nice jab, just kept it in Sergey's face, and Sergey had nothing to offer because he couldn't get past that jab. He's taking on Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Jairzinho Rozenstruik is a very heavy-handed striker. He's a Muay Thai striker by trade, traveled the world as a Muay Thai fighter. Then he converted over to MMA. Style-wise, he is more of a counter striker, though. He's not coming forward aggressively like some of the smaller Muay Thai fighters you'll see. He waits for you to commit, steps off, cracks you. Great head movement, great footwork. He has 0 takedowns as well. And that can be a little problematic, right? Because if you're losing the striking exchanges, there is no backup plan. He does have a nice takedown defense at 75%. He's coming off that decision win over Tai Tuivasa, where he tripled Tai's strikes, and he just showcased the technical skills. Jairzinho was a 2-1 dog before. He's still a 2-1 dog, and I'm still picking him to win. We just saw Sergey struggle with technical striking. Sergey shines in a firefight. If you're going to stand there and you're going to gunsling with him, that's where he shines, because he hits so hard and he's so fast, he will literally beat you to the punch every time. But we also saw him struggle against somebody who pumped a jab. And of course, Volkov is like 6'7". I get it. But Jairzinho Rozenstruik is a guy that has great footwork, good fundamentals. And if Sergey comes in too fast, misses, Jairzinho's going to be there, bang. He'll be there, bang. So I understand why Sergey's the favorite. He's younger, he's faster, and he hits just as hard. But I do think Jairzinho's technical experience could be the difference. And I might be biased here, because Jairzinho was on our show, called into our call-in show, hung out with me and Jakey Boy, took some fan questions. I might be biased. But I do think Jairzinho can win this fight, just like he won the last fight. Keep it technical, avoid the chaos. Jairzinho Rozenstruik is going to be the pick. I am going to monitor these odds just a touch longer. If they start to tighten, then I'll hammer it. If they continue to widen, I'll wait. And that's where the line movement tracker comes in handy. If you go to WeWantPicks.com, we have a whole slew of two. What did I just say? Slew of two? We have a whole suite of tools. One of those tools is the line movement tracker. It'll give you the opening odds for every single fighter, the current odds, what the win probability is, and then the line movement. So you can monitor, hey, this is going in my favor, it's going against me. And then you can decide, do I want to continue to ride this, or should I hit it before things go off the rails? I'm going to drink my own champagne, eat my own dog food, and use that line movement tracker here, because Jairzinho might be some solid value come fight night. Then we have a spectacular co-main event. Shar Magomedov taking on Michael Venom Page. Two very dangerous strikers with very different styles. Shar Magomedov is a comic book villain. Guy's got one eye, missing teeth, ridiculous beard, ridiculous hair. The guy's insane. He's insane to look at. Seems like an absolute psychopath. He's also very busy. We didn't know this guy existed until spring of last year? And what is this, his 5th UFC fight? The guy is busy, and he comes out here, and I don't want to say puts on a show, because there's a giant chunk of his fights that are boring as hell. But he comes out here, and he kicks, and he kicks, and he kicks, and he kicks. He's a very good striker. He's got a good bouncy style. He'll kick like crazy. Leg kicks, head kicks, leg kicks, head kicks, tons of kicks. He works in and out of range really, really well. He can be very powerful. He is very fast. He'll mix up his striking techniques. Takedown defense is just okay. We watched Bruno Silva bully him a little bit. And he is coming off that insane double back fist knockout over Armin Petrosyan at UFC 308. If you have not seen that clip, go watch that clip. That was an insane knockout. He is taking on Michael Venom Page. Michael Venom Page is also a very good striker, but a very different style striker. He has been very successful in Bellator, which RIP no longer exists. He's insanely dangerous because he has that sport karate background. His hands are low. He's insanely long. I have never seen a human being cover as much distance in as fast of a time as Michael Page. Go watch Michael Venom Page UFC debut against Kevin Holland. And I know you guys, Kevin Holland sucks. Kevin Holland sucks because he can't defend takedowns, not because his striking sucks. An MVP closed about 6 feet of distance in 1 second. It was like, whoop-pat. It is insane what he can do with that length, with that reach, and with that speed. He's old at 37, but he has not slowed down, and his chin seems to be totally fine. He's insanely accurate. He's very powerful because of that speed. He's long, and he uses that range. Takedown defense kind of sucks, but it's not going to matter in this fight at all. He is coming off that decision loss to Ian Gary, but he was beating Ian Gary in the striking. So Ian turned into a wrestler. And that's how he beat Michael Page. If Michael Venom Page defended a couple of those takedowns, he wins that fight. Just couldn't handle the grappling. A lot of people love Shara. The odds indicate that, right? Minus 175. And I get it. He's young. He just keeps winning. But Michael Venom Page, this is going to be my last ride with MVP. If MVP loses this fight, then I got to be done with him, obviously. This is my last ride with him. He's 37 years old, and I might be giving him too much credit at his age. But he is something different, man. That speed, the ability to come in and out as quickly as he does. I think MVP can win this fight. I think Shara's going to be bouncing around looking for kicks, and MVP could be in and out of the pocket before Shara even got a kickoff. The speed difference between these two is crazy. Again, there is a 7-year age difference. And maybe MVP just looked good against Ian Gary because Ian Gary has no problem in a staring contest. So we're going to learn a lot. This is a great fight, and I think I'm liking Michael Page here. And then we have our main event of the evening. I opened up this entire video by saying this is Israel Adesanya's first fight in 6 years that wasn't for a title. And that's an incredible statistic. Imagine being that good for that long. Very few people were able to remain at the top of the food chain for as long as Israel Adesanya did. So credit to him. And he is a favorite here, and it looks like he might be able to get back on track, but this is not an easy matchup at all. Izzy doesn't need much of a breakdown. You guys should all know who he is and what he's good at. Obviously, he's an amazing kickboxer, the longtime middleweight champion of the world. Times his strikes really well, great counter-striking. Plenty of finishes, but that's because of the counter-striking. If you come at him aggressive, he'll find his spots. If you don't come at him aggressive, he takes his time, he waits, he plots. Takedown defense is pretty good at 75%, and it's actually better than that because he was taken down 4 times in his last fight. And then ultimately submitted by Dricus du Plessis. And that's the big hole in Izzy's game. He can be taken down. But the question will be, is Nasruddin Imavov going to try to take him down? Because Nasruddin, while he's a busy striker and he's constantly working towards people, he can strike and he can counter-strike, but he also can wrestle. He's got takedowns. He's got good control when he wants to use them. It is not very often, though. He averages fewer than 1 takedown per fight. He doesn't really rely on them, but they are there. He is coming off the decision win over Brendan Allen, where the takedown defense looked absolutely phenomenal after the first round. And we're at a point in Izzy's career where we need to decide, is he completely washed up, or is he just not top 3 in the world anymore? And those are 2 very different things. Losing to Dricus, losing to Sean. Okay, you lost to number 1 and number 2 in the world right now. Maybe Izzy's the 3rd best guy in the world. And if he is the 3rd best guy in the world, he beats Nasruddin Imavov. But if he's washed and it's 2 losses in a row and he's going to be on his Chuck Liddell slide, then he's not going to win here. And I know that wasn't much of a breakdown. What I will say, though, I'm going to pick Izzy. And the reason I'm going to pick Izzy is because I thought he looked very good in that Dricus du Plessis fight. Yeah, of course he lost. But he lost because he couldn't handle the wrestling pressure. That's why he lost. The striking exchanges looked great. He was working Dricus's body. The combinations looked sharp. He was more aggressive than usual. He was more powerful than usual. I thought Izzy looked really good in that fight. Really good. And the odds are starting to loosen up a little bit here. He was a 2-1 favorite. And when I broke it down 3 weeks ago, I said I can't bet on a 2-1 favorite that hasn't won a fight in 2 years. But here we are, minus 160. And maybe that tightens up even a little more. Israel Adesanya might have some juice left. And if he does, I think he wins this fight. Nasruddin Imavov is a guy that is a hit or miss. In his last fight, after the first round, looked unbelievable. A couple of those losses looked clueless. I'm going with Izzy here. I think he gets it done. Let me know in the comments what you think. I know a lot of people hate Izzy, and I've had my moments where I'm like, oh, this guy. I thought Robert Whittaker beat him in the rematch. But we can't deny his skills. And honestly, look at that last fight. Yes, we know the outcome. Look at that last fight objectively. And think about what I said. Maybe he's the number 3 guy on the planet. Or maybe he's number 50 and we're just in the beginning of the downslide. We'll find out everything we need to know at UFC Saudi Arabia. Guys, that is the breakdown. And now that we're done with the breakdown, let me slide right into the pitch. Download the app. We spent a lot of time and a lot of money developing this app. You don't need to be a premium member to have the app. You'll get the push notifications. You'll get the other content. If you are a premium member, then you'll have access inside the app to everything that we do, including the data analyzer. I will never stop screaming about how great this tool is. Nobody offers what we offer. Nobody. And you're going to be, but the bets, it's more than the bets. The bets are one of many things inside of premium membership. And it's designed that way on purpose. This is a volatile sport to bet on. And not every single person does bets. Some people do fantasy. Some people place bets, but they will only place their own. They don't want to hear what other people are doing. That is why we spent the incredible time and money and investment in developing tools. Data Analyzer, by far the greatest tool in this space. I'm going to do an updated video on the Data Analyzer and how it works because it got a little bit of a facelift. We listened to the feedback. We tightened some things up. But for now, check out the Data Analyzer. It has anything you could ever want or need while doing your own research. Check out the line movement tracker to monitor some of the odds that you want to pay close attention to, like I'm going to do with Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Check out the Prop Hunter. This is a curated set of data, just right there. Here's the numbers. Find your prop bets. And check out everybody else. See who Artem's picking. See who BetSam's picking and betting on. BetSam did quite well at UFC 311. And check out the artificial intelligence. The zero variance system for the artificial intelligence, I believe, went 3-0 at UFC 311. We have an insane suite of things to offer under one single low price of freaking $10 an entire month. You're going to get UFC Saudi Arabia. You're going to get UFC 312. I don't know what the card is after that, but you'll get that too. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top.